With Mortal Kombat 11's reveal theoretically right around the corner at Combo Breaker, which is happening this weekend, I talked about that in yesterday's video, so if you want to actually watch that reveal happen live, you can go watch that video. Link should be at the top of the description. But with that reveal being so close, if it is going to happen, I figured it'd be best to make this video now rather than later, just in case the reveal does end up happening, and of course, this video would be a little bit too late. I want to talk about 5 features I want to see show up in Mortal Kombat 11. Now, this is going to be my first Mortal Kombat game that I play throughout the entirety of its life cycle. I jumped in at the end of MKX just because I was looking forward to Injustice 2 and I wanted to play a little bit of it. But apart from that, my Mortal Kombat experience is very limited. But since getting into fighting games because of Injustice 2 and more recently BLAZBLUE Cross Tag Battle and even a little bit before that Dragon Ball FighterZ, these are features I think that are really important for Mortal Kombat 11. Some more so than others, but I'll get to that when we get to the list, which I think we'll do right now. But I do want to start with an honorable mention, and that is brutalities. The reason why this is a honorable mention is because I really like it to show up, but it's a returning feature rather than a new one. I love the concept of brutalities, and when I did play a little bit of Mortal Kombat 11, it was my favorite way to end the match rather than a fatality. The brutality is always so much better because it just looks like it comes out of nowhere, and it's just so much more authentic than the fatality. The fatality is much more cinematic and usually fairly unrealistic, where the brutality looks like it would actually happen in a Mortal Kombat fight. It looks like the end to a regular Mortal Kombat fight rather than the fatality, which is sometimes much more theatrical. So I'd really like to see brutalities return. Getting on to the actual list, starting off with tag mode. Tag mode is something a lot of people want to see. That's not just me. And that's because tag mode is so enjoyable and it has so much potential there as well. The last time we saw a tag mode in a NetherRealm game was all the way back in Mortal Kombat 9. And recently there was a leak saying that the MK11 reveal was going to happen at Combo Breaker and it would show off tag mode. For somebody to make up that leak is not impossible, right? Because it seems very likely that Combo Breaker is going to have a reveal, so it's pretty hard to say that that leak is true. The same leak also said that there would be a LEGO DC game announced, and of course a LEGO DC game was announced, but from what I gather from that community, the people who were interested in those games, it was pretty obvious that the next LEGO game was going to be a DC game. So based off of that information, this leak could be very well made up, so I'm not expecting tag mode, but it's certainly something that I would like to see, especially if they could somehow incorporate like a 4v4 into that, like allowing one person to control one character, but still have that kind of 2v2 tag system. That way you can actually play cooperatively with a friend online. I think that would be really awesome. I'm not expecting any of that because it's a bit of a pipe dream, but I think it would be something cool to be able to do with friends, regardless of whether it's like a 2-player cooperative thing versus 2 other players, or whether it is just a 1 versus 1 where you have an extra character. Either way, that's awesome. Next up is ranked mode. This is one of the more important ones for me, but it's a bit of a selfish one. I don't think it's actually too important for the integrity of the game, but for me, I kind of need this one to be able to really enjoy myself in Mortal Kombat 11. I need a proper ranked mode. For people who play any of the NetherRealm games, you know that they always have a ranked mode, but it's not really a ranked mode. You don't get given divisions or anything like that. There's no rank. You're just participating on a different leaderboard, and I do not like that at all. It's not an enjoyable experience. It's not working towards anything. It's not fun. Recently, in my spare time, I've been getting back into Call of Duty games because it was my childhood. I loved Call of Duty, and the most recently announced one looks pretty cool. So I've been playing a little bit of World War II, and they've got a fully established ranked mode in that game with divisions and everything. And it was really exciting to me as a returning player to play a little bit of Call of Duty and place in gold, despite not having played in many years. That feels really good. And for me, being a new fighting game player, only over this past year or so, if I had placement matches that put me in even, high level bronze, I would be happy, right? And I think anybody else who's new to fighting games would feel the same way. And to see that gradual improvement over the life cycle of the game, I think would be really valuable to me. And also very valuable to any other new players. So I hope NetherRealm was able to finally add an actual ranked mode into a Mortal Kombat game or an Injustice game. Here's hoping it starts off with MK11. Next up is gear. I know a lot of people do not want to see gear in Mortal Kombat 11, and I understand the argument for having skins in the game over gear, right? Because you want a really high detailed customization option. Look at all of Aaron Black's costumes in MKX. They look really, really detailed and really good, right? They all suit a very thematic style. But the downside to having a costume system over the gear system is characters like Jason and all of the other DLC characters ended up having no customization options at all. And if I end up being a Jason main or a Tremor main or any of the DLC characters, it feels really bad to have literally no customization options, as opposed to Injustice 2, where some of the best customization options on the entire roster happen to come from the DLC characters, and so many customization options. Granted, there are some exceptions where you end up with a pretty bad system. In the case, I would argue Captain Cold has really, really limited customization options. He feels very limited because they all go towards a very same aesthetic style. Military, Arctic type of style, which works for that character, but I would have liked to have seen way more options for him. And that's why I want to see them continue with the gear system, because the only way they can improve it is to continue to work with that system. And I think Mortal Kombat is a great area for them to work with that, because it allows them to go in different thematic styles. Also, the two systems aren't mutually exclusive. You can have gear and skins in the same game. In fact, we saw that in Injustice 2. The Bruce Wayne Premier skin is nothing but a skin. It's not a Premier skin. There's no voice line changes. There's no animation changes. Nothing like that, unless you count his like little glider thing. It's literally just a skin or a costume, which is awesome because it shows they're willing to do skins and costumes despite having the gear system, which I think would be ideal for MK11, some type of combination of those two systems. Next up is the multiverse. So much of my time spent in Injustice 2 was in the multiverse. The multiverse is such a great system, especially for new players, because it allows them to try out new characters in a non-threatening environment that isn't easy either. Most of you watching this video are pretty seasoned to fighting game players, so when you jump into the multiverse, it feels like a very easy experience. But I can promise you, as somebody who's new to fighting games, or who was new to fighting games, Injustice 2 was my first fighting game that I played through the entirety of the life cycle of. The multiverse did not start off easy. I lost rounds to multiverse, granted, on very rare occasions, but there was challenges and decisions I had to make through going through the multiverse. And seeing that progression with the gear system, again, bringing back the gear system, that progression was so important, especially with the leveling system, because it gave me a reason to go play every single character. Giving people a reason to do things inside of your game is one of the most valuable things you can do, because it keeps people around playing. You guys saw within the first month of Injustice 2 coming out, I had a video uploaded which was like level 20 gear loadouts for every single character, because I non-stop grinded. I just wanted to get every character to level 20, and that ended up being very valuable for me because I got to learn every character on the roster, at least the basics of them, and to not have that system in MK11 just feels like a step backwards rather than a step forwards. And the final thing on my list is actually going to be speaking to a similar thing. We're going to be talking about ranked rewards. Earlier on in this video, I talked about wanting a proper ranked mode with ranked icons and everything, but on top of that, I really want to see some rewards given to certain players. It goes back to what I was talking about before with the multiverse, but this time aimed at a more competitive audience. Giving people a reason to play your ranked mode is really important, especially if they have actual divisions. Giving those divisions meaning is what's valuable. This is one of the big reasons I also want the gear system, is because all of a sudden it becomes much easier to convince people that ranked is valuable. If you don't have the gear system or any other type of customization option in your game other than skins, well then it's really hard to reward people in a theoretical ranked mode. For example, if I was to make a ranked mode, let's say that I decided at the end of a month, everybody who hit bronze gets 10 mother boxes or something like that, or whatever we end up calling them in MK11. Well, then that's pretty awesome. If you hit silver, let's say that you get 15 mother boxes or something like that, and you hit gold, you get 50 mother boxes, because it's a pretty big jump to go from silver to gold. And maybe that jump between bronze and silver should be a little bit higher, let's say it's 25. And you keep getting more and more mother boxes the more divisions you go up. This would incentivize people to play rank, and for those really high level players, you could incentivize them even further by dividing the ranks between each character. What I mean by that is, even if I play, let's say there's 10 placement matches to figure out what rank you are, if I play Superman for all of them and then I end up being gold on Superman, none of my other characters will be placed. They'll all still be no rank, so I'll have to play 10 matches with Batman and see what I rank with him. This would incentivize people to play with more characters, so when casual players end up going against people who are much higher level skilled, well then that one-sided beatdown ends up being not so one-sided, because that other player is trying to place with every single character. That's not to say that all of a sudden a pro is going to lose to a bronze player, but that bronze player might feel a little bit better about how close the match was. Regardless, none of this is relevant. I just want to see rewards in rank. Another thing you can do, and something I really hope ends up happening, but it would require the gear system over a costume system, and that is a golden shader, similar to what we got with the tournament shader, but this time rewarded to the player who gets a certain amount of wins on a specific character. So for example, let's say I get 100 wins on Superman, I might be rewarded with the tournament shader, and then if I get 500 with him, I might get the Electrum shader or something like that. This would be massive for me, because right now going into MK11, I'm hoping to only play one character. I'm hoping to find one character that I really love the gameplay of and stick to that character. But if all of these systems I talked about in this video, specifically the reward systems, including the gear system, was to be added to the game, well then all of a sudden that entire roster is something that is appealing to me, because I need to unlock all of those things, because that's the type of person I am. I hope NetherRealm listens to this video, and I hope I get some constructive feedback in the comment section. I always love these types of discussions, no matter how rude people are. In the past, when I've talked about, directional inputs being a plague on the fighting game industry, I get some really, really mean comments, but I really enjoy reading them, because often I just get to stroke my own ego, because most of the time when they're being that rude, they don't actually have a point. They're just saying I'm dumb, which is great, because it means they don't actually have an argument against what I'm saying. And the same thing goes for the gear system. Oftentimes times I don't really see an argument against it, especially if you preface the gear system by saying you can also have skins simultaneously. I don't really see an argument against it. Again, I would love to be proven wrong. You guys are always constructive in the comments. Well, at least most of you are. So let's have this discussion. I'm always open to it. I probably won't have another video out this week because I'm going to be really busy. So my next video is probably not going to be until the reveal of MK11 at Combo Breaker, assuming that ends up happening. If it doesn't happen, I'm sure I'm going to make a video regardless. But yeah, I'm just going to be really busy over the next couple of days because I'm helping with a local show thing, which I'll probably talk about sometime way in the future. But it's not something to be concerned about right now. I'm just going to be busy over the next couple days. My apologies. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name has been BLAZBLUE, and I will see you in the next video.